about agenda. There are many official agenda, unofficial agenda, and for different stakeholders as well. So I'll speak at the later stage. So let me invite Mr. Achut Bhandari first from Bhutan. Yes, please. Oh, okay, so can we take around 4 to 5 minutes max? Yeah, so each, so that we can wrap it up in next 35 minutes. So Mr. Bhandari, I hope you are here with us, please.
Yes, Dr. Ryan, thank you very much. And let me begin again by thanking SANEM, the Lakshman Karagamar Institute, and the USAID program for arranging this timely discussion. I have tremendously benefited from today's discussions, and I think we had a very rich discussion in different sessions with plenty of ideas which we need to carry forward. And I think the one point that has come clear is that although Colombo Summit has taken some important decisions, especially in signing the charter. Although after 25 years of BIMSTEC in existence, at least I think it is a first sincere effort, let's say, for the countries to engage in regional cooperation and integration. But the task is daunting, as it is evident, and this has to be not only within the governmental domain, but it has to be spread around to the private sector, and Chamber of Commerce was mentioned earlier by one of the participants, and the academics and think tanks like some of the institutions that are involved in today's discussions. It's difficult to envision, what BIMSTEC is going to look like down the line in 2047, 25 years from hence. I hope I'd still be alive. I will be 95 by then. And obviously at that time, I would love to see a vibrant BIMSTEC. Maybe these are my wishful thinkings. I would like to see, no member of BIMSTEC has a per capita income of less than $30,000 a year. I would like to see intra-BIMSTEC trade, which is in the form of a paperless trade, of at least about 25% of the total BIMSTEC trade. At the moment, it's only about 5 to 6%. I would also like to see a direct linkages, be it by road or air connectivity. I know there are air connectivities between some of the countries, but others are not linked. For instance, if I want to go to Colombo, there is no direct flight, nor if I want to go to Myanmar, there are no direct flights from here. So I think there is a need for direct connectivity, and for the connectivity to be viable, we have to see more people visiting each other so that there is a people-to-people interaction and contact, and greater knowledge about each country is gained and shared among the people, leading to a higher level of integration. I would also hope that I can travel to Thailand or Myanmar or Sri Lanka just by showing my BIMSTEC travel card, and I can be quickly cleared through the immigration, so that the travel is made much easy. I should also be able to drive to Chittagong, during the cold winters here in Thimphu, so that I can lie and enjoy the special, beautiful beach down in Chittagong. So I would like to drive without any hindrance on the way between Thimphu to Chittagong in my car, in the comfort of my car. The other point also is that there is much more information available among our countries about the other member countries. At the moment, there is very little information about BIMSTEC countries in each of our countries. Our newspapers, TV channels, don't cover much unless unless there is a very important news item. I would like to see. Today we can see CNN, we can see BBC, but we cannot see let's say the TV channels from Bangladesh or from Sri Lanka or Thailand, which is an irony. If we want to integrate, if we want to forge cooperation, we should be able to have those options to see how those countries and peoples are living and doing. So therefore, transparency of information, exchange of information is critical, and hopefully by that time, the SAARC Secretariat and the member countries themselves would be able to do a good job in it. And finally, this is not, the list is not exhaustive. These are just my thoughts as I was reflecting on today's discussion and what I would like to see down in 25 years. I think we need a BIMSTEC development bank. Earlier we said that the charter doesn't talk or say anything about financing our projects, not even mobilization of funds, from other donor countries or development institutions, financial development institutions, except that member countries themselves would try to fund them, including the Secretariat. For critical programs and projects to be funded, I think we need a sound financial institution within our region that would be able to provide the required funds in areas of critical importance. So these are some very broad points. But I think more immediate, I think what we need to do is between now and let's say, by the time the next summit takes place in 2024, we should have some very concrete projects for implementation driven by the, through cooperation between the Secretariat and the new chairman of BIMSTEC, and also through this informal or track-to diplomacy process, like the work that we are doing. And I hope that this type of activities we can continue to have and be able to provide valuable inputs to the official process, like we did in the op-ed that came out in yesterday's newspaper in Dhaka. Thank you again, and I have really enjoyed and learned from today's discussions.
Thank you, Achut. I'm sorry that I got a couple of minutes late to arrive. I will speak at the last, I think, because of want of time. It is my pleasure to invite Dr. Praveer Dey.
Thank you. Last session, I won't take much of your time. To 2047, 25 years from now, which going by your truth, I will also be 79 years, even though I don't look like at the moment 54 years old. But so what I can see 25 years from now, a couple of things will obviously, in an optimistic note, I can tell that with the charter in place and several other instruments in place, commitments coming, FTA will be there, coastal shipping agreement will be there, motor vehicle agreement will be there, regular, frequent summits will be there. Now, if summits frequency goes up, there will be added pressure on the Secretariat, there will be availability of the funds, the resources, etc. So all actually going to strengthen the integration, that's for sure, but its scale or its strength, I won't be able to define. But only I can say as an economist, when I do a forecast, 25 years, what's going to be, we need to do a trend line. So this trend line means 1997. That's the beginning. 1996, if I pick up for the sake of discussion, when the study is undertaken, how many of us were part of an FTA? Except India, Bangladesh. Yeah, they are part of this Bangkok agreement that time. And today, everybody. So trade integration will obviously be there. This is not going to be an irreversible. So I'm by 2047, when BIMSTEC will be 25 years old, India will be 100 years old by of its independence. So, and many countries will be coming to that direction. All will be having more integration, for sure. Point number two, that will that integration will help the countries like what Dr. Nihal said in the morning, landlocked, waterlogged. Dr. Ganesh also said same thing. Will we able to share our resources? And textbook says that if you go for breaking your barriers means there will be free flow of goods, services, capital, and that will help laggard regions to bring more resources from the front running. If you look at the trade figure now, Bhutan and Nepal, the only two countries, they continue to depend more than, Bhutan depends more than 90%, and Nepal depends more than 69% of their global trade with the region. Rest countries, there are variations small in numbers. So we need to be very concerned about our member countries in the Bay of Bengal like Bhutan, Nepal, or Sri Lanka, for example, which are having several challenges. Point number three, there would be certainly more people-to-people linkages. I'm hopeful with visas, free, a lot of availability of scopes, opportunities for the travel, etc., high-speed movement, both in cargo and international airlines. I think people-to-people contracts will be much faster, subject to some conditions which economists are unable to forecast, like this kind of a pandemic kind of stuff. But there will be big challenges for us, like which is very, very India kind of a country where, the distribution income in terms of income and consumption very skewed. So we need to be very concerned about, as in a very general op-ed way, if I may speak, the poverty, inequality aspects, those also need to be. But there is no empirical evidences or any theoretically that if we open up for more liberalization and more for integration, that will lead to change the inequality pattern. I'm more concerned about inequality because it's actually harm the integration process, not the poverty. Poverty and integration is a very straight line. More integration means less number of poverty through the jobs. Point number three, and there's climate change, net zero, which we have already pledged. There would be several figures just for 2 meters water level rise by 2047. That's the number we have. The part of Bangladesh, part of India, the eastern side will be submerged. So there will be many people will be, will be evicted or will be forced to migrate. So be concerned about the climate change issues, please. So this is where we need to do out-of-box works, and those who are going to be partners, they need to be very concerned about. Last point, 79 years old, I am old. But the next generations who will be running the show, it will be more challenging than what I am doing. We have friends, we have a scope and opportunities, we have mentors like you, LKI Executive Director, many of those who are behind the screen online there, Post Pandey and many others. But next generation, what are we leaving for them? To me, the young scholars, the youth, they are not getting attached to it. So this is a big challenge for us until we motivate them. And there we see, countries like Bangladesh or Sri Lanka and many, in the Bay of Bengal, they have an additional role. I conclude with this recommendations that these will be part of your life, and had we ever thought that we are going to reach today, and in such a situation when the host country is facing one of the serious crises in their economic times, and so we never thought about that this is going to be. So these all challenges will come and we'll be able to overcome with a joint effort if we stay together. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Prabir. We will have a brief discussion thereafter. May I now invite our friend Poshraj?
Thank you.
Hi.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Sumit. Well, now we are discussing BIMSTEC in 2047. That is the state of BIMSTEC member country, BIMSTEC itself and its member countries after 25 years. Now I recall once Galbraith has said, we have two classes of forecasters, those who don't know and those who don't know, they don't know. I think I fell under both categories. So I myself have doubt on the authenticity of my assessment as well as my proposal on the way forward. That's my limitations. Okay. I mean, what would be this BIMSTEC economy and global economy? First, globalization, technological development, and digitalization will continue to contribute to the human progress in BIMSTEC. However, as Dr. Prabir highlighted, the region will suffer multiple inequalities. That's inequality in income, inequality in wealth, inequality in health, inequality in education. That's inequality within the member as well as among the members. That is, I think, one scenario I see. And the second, BIMSTEC would be at the central stage of the global economy, with India as the third largest economy. And the size of Indian economy will be very close to the size of US economy. That's the second point I foresee. And the third, in the process of this prosperity, member countries could face the problem of middle income trap, and the major challenge would be that increasing efficiency and productivity of the economy. And the fourth, again, here also I support that Prabir's point. Climate change would be the existential threat for some of the countries, and for rest of the countries, it would be the major threat to food security, water, energy, and health. And much more broadly, it would be a great threat, first, to achieve sustainable development. And the fifth, I foresee the threat to existing old economic order, and will face the challenge from ultra-nationalist forces. Against this scenario, regional cooperation and integration would be critical for BIMSTEC countries, not only for their march towards prosperity, but also to preserve their development gains. To sustain region-wide economic growth and development, member states would need to fully open their markets to BIMSTEC countries that facilitate a regional trade and investment flows. And member countries would also need to collaborate in technological development, infrastructure development, energy security, food security, disaster preparedness, and also the management of regional commons. And during that, after 25 years, the demand for empowering citizens and strengthening people-to-people contracts, and also strengthening civil society network would increase. That is, BIMSTEC member would work towards the creation of BIMSTEC economic community with strong regional institutions, and there will be strong political commitment for regional integration in BIMSTEC countries. I stop here with this extreme and wild optimism. Thank you.
Thank you, Posh. I think you are very optimistic. That's right. We need to be optimistic. We will come back to that point later. May I now invite Dr. Nihal Pitikala from Sri Lanka.
Thank you, Ambassador Naklanda. Ladies and gentlemen, friends, I just wanted to sort of reflect upon what my good friend Professor Prabir said about the trajectory. We are hoping that just that our engagement and this charter and the summit is probably a structural break from the 25 years of change. More importantly, the way I see about the BIMSTEC region, having worked upon a number of regional agreements, is that trade has moved along despite the frictions that the countries have in place in the past. This has taken place in some instance in dramatic fashion between India and Thailand, and some bilateral partnerships between Bangladesh and Sri Lanka, and including among small countries. That belies the underlying reality that it's extremely suboptimal and operates far below potential, and depriving the consumers and businesses an opportunity. That brings us to the current context where we are I would assume in the last throes of a debilitating pandemic that has consumed the global architecture as we know of trade, and we have left with a region which has very few choices. and the tendencies of those structural changes and cyclical changes leaves no option but to rely on regional sources to try and find solutions. And trade, people-to-people connection, all the factors that you mentioned are ways and means to achieve that. And I think there shouldn't be no excuses from now on. The third and the last factor I would like to focus on, our role. Our role as economists, as mentors, as advocates for change. Have we done our job? Is there something that if things are not moving, is it all the policymakers? Do we have a part to play? And that's where I think the training and capacity building and mentoring and reaching out and the network building is going to be extremely important. I reflect back upon the training course that we are doing at the moment with extremely capable group of people and friends, including Professor Salim, Sumit Nakalanda's Foresights and Leadership, Prabir Ganeshan, Vacharas, and a bunch of others that I can't go through the names, have so far trained 250 government officials. And we will not stop at this quest just now yet. We have a lot more to be done, and rest assured, we will do as much as we can. So what I am saying is sometimes we have to stand in front of the mirror and ask, are we doing the right thing as thought leaders, as analysts? And that's something that we will continuously evaluate, learn, and adapt as we move forward. And at last, I just want to offer a vote of thanks for Professor Mendes. Thank you very much for entertaining us, Chaturka for organizing this, and the staff for generosity. Everybody else, the audience from all 7 countries, and not but last but least the USAID, who has been very generous, asking very few questions, supporting and relying, trusting us to deliver. So we'll continue to do, and hopefully we'll do much better next time. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Nihal. Those are very encouraging words. We will certainly follow it up. And may I now invite Dr. Jitarut? Yeah. Is he online? Yes.
Oh, yes.
Yes, please.
Well, I don't know what to say, really. Only, to express my words, of, optimisms that, I hope that, in the course of the next 25 years, there are a lot of work, for us to do as the citizens of the BIMSTEC organizations. I agree with all of you, that we, apart from the shadows, we need a funding institutes for us to for each member state to be able to complement all different projects that that would increase the connectivities either in terms of economics, infrastructures, or even people's to people's connectivities like cultures. I think for looking back, BIMSTEC BIMSTEC has achieved a lot during the past 5 years. Since I have been exposed to these organizations for the first time. So I think in the next 25 years, that BIMSTEC is going to be 50 years old. We need to lay foundations for people who will take on these organizations. And it's not just government officials, but also common people for them to have the awareness and also about the regions, and also this sense of this sense of common prosperity. You know, I always stress, you know, the importance of these words, that, you know, that organizations like BIMSTEC or ASEAN or European Unions or anything like that, we cannot just think of what individual nation states, you know, will get out of such an organizations, but, you know, we have to change our mindsets, you know, to think more about, you know, common prosperities, because, you know, it's not just, you know, about us, you know, making the benefit or making money, but, you know, because other people, you know, have the benefit and making the monies, then, you know, I can, you know, also enjoy these benefits and you know, the monies from such trades, you know, and you know, other you know, activities that, you know, come with such an organization. So, you know, I think, you know, that's the only thing, you know, I want to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Idrat. I think Salim has not spoken, so please.
Thank you. I think we have heard from Mr. Bhandari, Dr. Prabir De, Dr. Porshas Pandey, of course, Dr. Nihal Pitigala, and Dr. Ziraud. Some very optimistic words, and I also want to be optimistic like them. And they have suggested something very, very concrete. So what I just want to add one or two things is that, one is that, can we make it popular that BIMSTEC at 50? So when you try to make it popular, BIMSTEC at 50, that means it's 2047, then set some goals or targets that what do we really want to achieve by, you know, 2047 when BIMSTEC would be BIMSTEC at 50. And then, you know, if we can kind of set the goals for, as Dr. Prabir De mentioned and some other panelists also mentioned, there will be some structural changes over the next 25 years. For example, Bangladesh, it wants to become an upper middle income country in next 7-8 years, wants to become a high income country in 2041. It has a national development goal. Also, there are some other countries in BIMSTEC region, they have also their own goal. For example, Thailand, they also want to be high income country in few years from now. So I think, you know, whole dynamics are going to be changed, you know, in next 25 years. But can we set some kind of goals which are aligned with the national development targets, at the same time some of the global development targets, what we can foresee that the SDGs are going to be, you know, the targets are by 2030, but before 2030 there will be another set of goals probably which would be coming up, you know, setting 2045 as the kind of target year. So probably that is something important, BIMSTEC at 50. And also in line with that, whether we can set some roadmap or prepare some roadmap how we can achieve those goals. Dr. Porshas Pandey, he mentioned about BIMSTEC economic community. Definitely that is something can be very much in the line. But can we think something like that and also, or something better than this also? So with this, I'd like to thank, and also I'd also like to take the opportunity to thank LKI, especially Dr. Mendes, Mr. Chatuka, and your team, Katha and Minosha and other also who worked behind relentlessly. I know that this was an extremely difficult job to maintain this virtual and you know, actual kind of realities. I also thank the team at SANEM who is sitting in Dhaka. They also made me part of this team because I was also managing or also working in the Zoom. So this is the way we work at SANEM also. So I must thank Shoaib and his team back in Dhaka. They also worked quite hard to make this event a success. And of course, Sumit and other our colleagues, you know, who are really the pioneers of, you know, having this agenda forward. I think we'll work together. So next 25 years, as Dr. De and others, they also mentioned their ages. You know, I'm not very far from that. So we are very much close to, so by in next 25 years. But I'm sincerely looking for what Sobhajit Dotto he mentioned, that think about the kid who is now 10 years old or 5 years old, they will be 25 to 30 or 35 years old by that time. What are there for them now? Can we create something for them now, which really they will be able to actually carry it forward then? Thank you very much. And I must forget USAID. Of course, thanks to USAID.
Thank you. It's interesting to see what happens in another 25 years. I will see it very differently because I have traveled to many parts of the world and lived with many people. And I feel the people of Indian origin will be at the helm of politics in many parts of the world, United States. There will be at least 10, 15 senators. There will be vice presidents, presidents. In Europe, the same thing will be in another 25 years. In the Caribbean, most of the leaders will be of Indian origin. In Africa, the Indians will also be a prominent role. The British Empire has gone, but the Indian Empire will flourish in many parts of the world. If BIMSTEC becomes a force to reckon with, India will be a supreme country in the Asian continent in another 25 years. So India may not see it that way. I see it that way. There will be a huge division between India and China on the side, and they will be two great powers in another 25 years' time. That's how the chips will fall. I may not live, but I can be sure even Malaysia will join this side, and we will be a larger community in the Asian sector. So I feel the future depends on this community. It's a very strong community. That's why I stay till very late to see how it unfolds. So I'm sure this is the way I look at it, and some of you might live, Ryan may live, but you're still young, but we may not live to see how it unfolds. And Machatuka also will live. And tell me that I said so many years ago. But all depends whether this is a success or not. This charter will change, definitely, as the community changes. But that's the way it is. Nothing is permanent. It comes to change. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you, Dr. Mendes. I think that's a wonderful way to finish. But I think I have attentively listened to Achut, to Prabir, to Nihal, to everybody. But we all are very optimistic rather. I think that is the way to look at. I take the point Dr. Mendes said that the Malaysians will join, the Indonesians will join. I think what will happen during next 25 years, the BIMSTEC will expand eastward. That's the logical conclusion. Then maybe China will have a role to play. We'll have to see how this will happen. I'm looking at the larger picture of RCEP and then TTP expansion. I just want to throw this idea. For the last 2 days, I think we have discussed much about regional integration, in detail trade integration, policy integration, the grid, the connectivity. Somebody has missed one point. I think many had focused on the BIMSTEC connectivity master plan. I think there was a precursor. That was the BTILS, BIMSTEC infrastructure BIMSTEC trade infrastructure logistics study that was done by the ADB. And that study had also identified 275 projects. So that is important. Then we need to, I think, with the charter, Secretariat will be empowered to engage with the other intergovernmental organizations like UNESCAP. We also need to mention, as we celebrate 25 years and as we start our journey for the next 25 years, the initial role played by the UNESCAP. In fact, although the idea was political in nature, many of the groundwork on BIMSTEC was done in the 4th floor of the UN building in Bangkok. I can tell that authoritatively because there were a number of studies undertaken. There was in fact a suggestion to start a BIMSTEC, of course, those days there's no BISTEC airline even. There was a proposal. So there are a number of proposals are there. But with all these things together, as Dr. Mendes said, and everybody is still worried about whether they will live next 25 years to see the fruits. How do we see regional economic integration? I would like to suggest that the regional economic integration is a social justice project. If you see through that, the regional economic integration will provide a platform for social justice to the people in the region. Then many of the ideas during the last concluding session raised, I think will be addressed. Inequality, poverty, then people-to-people contact, then the climate change, then the migration. But we need to see passionately. Now that is something that I would like, of course Nihal is not here. I'm very grateful to Nihal having that kind of criticism that as economist, because many of our friends are economists here, lead economists in the region. I also would like to pay tribute to our late friend Saman Kalegama, who had made lots of contributions not only to the integration process in the Bay of Bengal but also SAARC and South Asian integration. And like all of us here, I think he too believed that the regional economic integration is it is not the panacea to all problems, but it is the answer to many problems which will bring people together. Now, I had, like Prabir and Salim and others, I had the privilege of interacting with someone many times. And I think we believe we share one common dream. That dream is to revisit or rediscover our common cultural and civilizational heritage in the Bay of Bengal. That in mind, I think we can do small things like this with Nihal's support and support of others to gift these ideas to the next generation. Presumption is that we are not going to, none of us are going to, I will not be able to live next 25 years at this rate. So, what is the gift? What is the legacy that we are going to leave is the empowering the next generation. Now, we cannot empower the next generation just only with the economic theory or econometrics. But I think we also need to teach them, inculcate the next generation to have the non-parochial thinking and raising above the pettiness. That would be the answer, because Posh raised this point. race of nationalism could be there. We could see it in the European Union. So how do we address that? Now, this part of the world, what we call Orient, as very fondly referred by Edward Said, we are part of Orient. This Orient is a birthplace for many religions. Now that's our strength. That, I think with those things, these are additional thoughts, apart from what we discussed yesterday and today. With that, I think we can be very firm that we are doing the right thing. We are doing the right thing, but we do the right thing with right perception. Now that won't come unless you develop non-parochial philosophy and thinking. I think that is what the Buddha said. I don't know much about other religions. With these words, thank you very much, USAID, Sanem, Prabir, Dr. Mendis, and Nihal for arranging this wonderful tribute as we celebrate 25 years of BIMSTEC. And we will continue to arrange and hold meetings of this nature, especially targeting the youth. Thank you.
This brings us to conclude the formal part of today's proceedings, but before we leave, may I ask Dr. Mendis to present a small token of appreciation to Ambassador Nakandala. Yeah. So may I invite Mr. Chataka Seranaka, Director LKI, to deliver the vote of thanks.
Thank you, Malinda. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the Lakshman Kadirgam Institute of International Relations and Strategic Studies, I would like to express our thanks to Sanam for partnering with us in this endeavor, which was a bit of a fast-tracked endeavor, which should be said. And also, it should be mentioned that our thanks go to Mr. Reed Ashurman, of the Mission Director of USAID in Sri Lanka and the Maldives, for their support, and as well as Dr. Salim Raheen and Dr. Nihal Pitikala, who approached us on the advice of Minister Thalaka Balasuri, our State Minister. And we managed to get quite a good program going on today. And I would like to express my appreciation to the ministers and dignitaries who were present here yesterday and today, including Dr. Nakandala, Mr. Ambassador Nakandala, former Secretary General of BIMSTEC. And I think a very broad, enlightening discourse happened today. And I think that BIMSTEC at this stage has, in my opinion, the stepping stone to become to greater integration and connectivity in the southern states of the Asian continent. And I hope that a lot of things taken here from the practitioners who have come here from the different departments and the heads would go back and inform and enlighten policymakers in making these decisions for the future. So thank you once more to all the panelists and the chairs who have been here today. And a special note should go to the Sanam team also, to Shoaib and your team in Bangladesh, who we have learned a lot from also. And I think it's a great opportunity for us, as this is the first institution to institution collaboration we have done this year in 2022, and I hope that much more can be done in the future. And we should also mention the board of LKI for their continued support yesterday and today, for their participation, etc. And thank you very much to all of you, and to the LKI team as well, and to Dr. Mendes for his guidance throughout, and thank you. And on that note, I think we should end, and we should have Dr. Prabir De's picture. Yes. Thank you.